don't want to be doing this in public.
Ryan, are we good?
Just 1 second.
Thank you.
Just
You're welcome.
I believe we're okay.
All right, hello and welcome to the school committee meeting of December 12th, 2023. If we could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, everyone. Just a reminder that Comcast has moved the educational channel from channel 14 to channel 8 for folks watching at home. We do not have student advisory this evening, so with that, I'll just ask Heather if you'd like to read the mission and vision.
Sure. The mission of Falmouth Public Schools is Falmouth Public Schools creates world-class learning experiences. Our Clippers are empowered to pursue their goals with curiosity, integrity, and resiliency. Our vision: Clippers are creative, inquisitive, and engaged learners who participate in their community as socially responsible citizens. Clippers effectively communicate and solve problems that impact the world around them.
Thank you. Next up I have is public comment. Members of the public are welcome to speak about items that are not on the agenda. Comments should be limited to 2 minutes in length. Due to open meeting law, the committee cannot act on public comment for items on the agenda. The chair may accept comments from the public following the committee's discussion of an item. Additional comments and feedback can also be submitted by email to schoolcommittee@falmouth.k12.ma.us. Is there anyone here for public comment? Seeing none, I'd like to roll right on into Rose. Please give us all the goodness of Mullen Hall.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us at your building.
I was just going to say, welcome to Mullen Hall, and thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I am here with Mrs. Mazurek, my assistant principal, and we have Mrs. Pizzati, who is our DLCS instructor. And we have some world-class Clippers right here, ready to show you their amazing work that we've done at Mullen Hall here. So I'm going to pass it over to Mrs. Pizzati.
Perfect.
Okay, so here we have some fourth graders. We have Annie, Paige, Declan, Eli, and Gus, and they're here to back me up and just kind of share a little bit about a co-teaching unit that myself and the librarian here at Mullen Hall put together to collaborate for a library and digital literacy computer science lesson. So what we decided to do was read the book Balloons Over Broadway. So Elizabeth, during library class, we were able to bring both, or actually all 4 fourth grade classes together. Elizabeth read the book Balloons Over Broadway. And then the next phase of the project was to talk a little bit about the history of the real Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade and the person behind it. So Tony Stark, who was the master puppeteer. We discussed the effort and the amount of planning that went into each balloon or each float in the real Thanksgiving Day Parade. And then we presented a challenge to our fourth graders. And one of the challenges was to design and create their own float or balloon for our own Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And we had some parameters that they had to follow, mostly using recycled materials. And part of the process was following the engineering design process, and planning was a very big part of it, right? So after they came up with a plan, they started collecting the materials and actually building their balloons, their floats. Were you able to stick to your plan? Yes. For the most part, Declan.
I like the honesty.
And that's part of the engineering design process. So sometimes it works out and other times you have to shift. After they finish building their balloons, that's when the computer science part of this unit came in. So we have our dash robots and some iPads, and Elizabeth and I decided that the parade route that they would follow was out the library door, take a left, and take another left and come back in the other library door. And initially, it was pretty challenging from a teacher's perspective. Do you agree? Okay. But once one group in the 4th grade figured out the code, it then kind of spread. So that's when the collaboration piece overlapped between different groups. One group would help another, and then it just kind of spread that way. So this is like a 1.5-minute video that just kind of encapsulates everything that I just discussed. And then after, we'll do a miniature parade for you, and then about a minute or so for you guys to take a closer look at their work.
And you connected it to the community meeting for us.
Yes,
So you
yep.
presented, they read the story, and actually Declan performed for us. They did a skit while they paraded, and then they presented to this whole entire school, the parade, so that then it will foster the younger ones wanting to do this project when they get to the 4th grade. Yes, thank you.
Clear the parade route.
A lot of these floats you can also see up in the front of the library. That's our whole collection that was created by the 4th grade. So if you don't mind another minute or so, we'll throw a little.
Please,
Macy
please,
Mass
please.
Thanksgiving parade, a Mullen Hall parade.
Right, okay.
They're gonna come right in.
Yeah, I think they're using these names to replicate.
This was really fun during the community meeting as well. While we were on stage, these little guys were talking away.
Coming, oh, there it is. There you go. Oh, that rug is tough. That's nice. That is nice.
So cool. Oh, that's great.
All right.
Very nice.
Does anyone have questions? Is there,
Mike?
do you want to bring?
We just wanted to give you an opportunity to ask any questions, or if you wanted to see their floats a little bit closer.
Mike?
Could we ask the students to each just explain what their float is? Because I know people online might not be able to see it as well, but could we do that? Thank you.
Eli, would you like to start?
Sure. Mine is a Dunkin' Donuts cup. Me and my team taped this together. We have a donut on top.
Oh, that's
great. A straw.
Thank you.
Mine's Mickey Mouse, a very classic of Disney. My group started on thinking we would do something totally different, but apparently we couldn't use that, so it changed our whole design, but it eventually really worked out. Me and my group did Santa, and we mostly just used cardboard, cotton balls, and like fabric and like pom-poms. My group and I, we tried to make a turkey, but there wasn't enough brown. So we had to stick with the yellow tape. And the tail was just not something that we thought of.
And Gus, you used a material that we didn't have, but you.
Oh yeah, we used a tin can for the body. So mine's a turtle, and when I started, I was like in a really rush with my team, but turns out if you do a lot of teamwork, it would actually turn out the way it works.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just ask one more thing. So we have cookies and juice for you. Thank you very much for being here tonight. But before you go and enjoy that, could you just stay for one more minute for an introduction for our next presentation? We have a little something you might be excited about. Okay, just give us a minute. And our next presentation is Carmela and about composting. So we'll start right out with that, and then we'll have a
So I'm here
presentation.
tonight to give everybody an update
Oh, that's good.
on how phenomenal Mullen Hall has been doing with composting. And while I was looking over the numbers for tonight to make sure that all my numbers were correct, I found a very interesting calculation. I calculated that you guys have been composting for 65 days. And in that 65 days, you know how many times Black Earth has told me, sorry, we can't pick this up because it's contaminated with something? How many times? Big old goose egg. So, that's phenomenal, but when I did some more calculations, you know what I found out? You guys actually just passed, as of today, 65 days in, you just passed the 1 ton mark, which means in 65 days, you guys have recycled over 2,000 pounds of food scraps. So I thought, that sounds like something that we should do a certificate for. So it says, this is called I called it the Ton of Fun Award. Guys, I was a quick decision. If you come up with better names, please let me know. But it says that certifies that as of, and Clipper Compost, that's what we have. Certifies that as of December 12th, 2023, the students of Mullen Hall Elementary School have successfully recycled over 1 ton of food scraps, which means by successfully composting their food waste, Students at Mullen Hall have prevented over 2,000 pounds of food from being dumped into the landfill. This action has prevented the release of approximately 0.68 metric tons of greenhouse gases into the environment. So, you guys did. So I thought maybe you guys could put that in the cafeteria and everybody can celebrate what a great
Oh, we
job
have to
you guys
frame
did.
this.
Of course, I will purchase the frame for you.
Thank you. No, we'll repurpose something. So we'll get 1,000, no.
Well, it's the first, it's like the ton, you know, like YouTube, you get like 1,000 or 1,000,000 viewers, but then after that, they're like, yeah, okay, you gotta know.
Okay.
So we'll see. Maybe after the 3-ton mark.
Well, thank you very, very much.
Congratulations,
Yeah,
thank
that's
you.
great.
And thank you for the wonderful presentation.
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you.
Very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That's a really tough act to follow. But I'll do my best. Okay. My favorite thing about coming to the school committee meetings is that like every time I come, it's always to give you something positive. So I hope to continue that as far as I can. So I have some really fantastic composting news from Mullen Hall and elsewhere to present to you. So, all right. So just a little, have to give her some props. So I read I would classify it as a life-changing book called Braiding Sweetgrass by a woman named Robin Wall Kimmerer. And so I wanted to put this quote up there because we talk about, you know, we need to restore the environment. It's very important to build back our nature areas and natural areas and whatnot, but it's also about reciprocity, and she talks a lot about that. And so restoration or restoring the environment is imperative for healing the earth, but reciprocity is imperative for long-lasting, successful restoration. Like other mindful practices, ecological restoration can be viewed as an act of reciprocity in which humans exercise their caregiving responsibility for the ecosystems that sustain them. We restore the land and the land restores us. And so as we do composting and we make soil, that soil can then be used to make more food for us. So it is literally the ultimate act of reciprocity. So let's talk about how well we've been doing. So I looked at October's numbers and November's numbers. We don't quite have December's numbers yet. However, I expect them to be just as fantastic as the other 2 months. So pre-composting, the custodians said we usually got rid of between 6 and even up to 12 bags per lunch wave, so all of the lunches combined. And now we're down to about 2.4 for October. And then for our, November, we were down to 2.6. I would also just like to say real quick that there was a staffing issue in November, which caused them to have to use disposable trays for one day. And I really think that had something to do with the numbers. But regardless, you're looking at a 60% reduction in trash generation out of the cafeteria in October, and then a 57% reduction in November. So looking good. All right. So for what I did was I took, thanks to Rose and Cece and the crew over at the cafeteria, we weighed their food waste over about 3 days. And we did an average and we determined how much food waste on average they generate per day. So after we did all the calculations, I came up to the conclusion that in a year, pre-compost, we generated about 1080 bags, so 1,080 bags of trash, which came out to 27,000 pounds or 13.5 tons. In this case, I'm using a short ton, which is 2,000 pounds, not a metric ton. And then post-composting, we're actually estimated to have about 450 bags or 11,250 pounds, 5.6 tons of waste going into the landfill. And so that's a 58% reduction, which is pretty awesome, pretty awesome. So that's 5,760 pounds of food scraps just by Mullen Hall, which is the equivalent of 3 tons. So I said that today they hit their 1 ton mark, so they're literally right on track, about 60 days per ton. So at the end of the year, they'll have about 3 tons, which if you're a visual person like I am, like, oh, 3 tons, that's a lot. Yeah, it's 3 rhinoceroses or 3 cars. So we're talking about a lot of food waste. So Mullen Hall is doing great. I think we knew that. There's not really any other option when you're talking about Mullen Hall. So what's it gonna look like when the whole rest of the district gets involved? So what I did was, I know how much waste Mullen Hall is generating. However, it's not as easy to put that onto the other schools. Elementary schools usually generate more waste than middle schools and high schools because they have less of an appetite. Sometimes they're still full from breakfast. There's lots of reasons why they might not eat as much, and so they generate more waste. So what I did was, Recycling Works Mass has basically a sheet that you can fill out to estimate how much waste you're gonna generate, because there is a waste ban in effect in Massachusetts. So as you can see up here, elementary schools generate more waste than middle schoolers, which generate more waste than high schoolers. But on average, it's about 45% of the waste that's thrown away is food. However, the good news is, when we actually did our weighing of food waste, Mullen Hall is actually significantly under. So we're about 0.43 pounds per student per week, figuring a 5-day week. But even if they figured a 7-day week, that's only like 0.6. So we're still under by half, more than half. So we're doing really well. So what I did was I took those estimates that you saw on the previous side, and I extrapolated it out to all of the schools based on the number of students that we had. And yes, there's a lot of numbers on here, but I'm going to condense it for you in something that's a little more easy to understand. So basically, yes, it's a lot. However, when you see how much it is, it's actually quite astonishing. So if you combine all of our schools together in an 180-day period, you're going to end up saving 91,554 pounds from the landfill. And yes, Falmouth does go to a landfill in Bourne. That's 46 tons. And that is 31.46 metric tons of carbon greenhouse gas emissions averted. So if you're asking, oh, how do you know that? The EPA has a method to extrapolate that. It's called WARM, which is what I use to calculate this. And actually, that's pretty decent. But 31.46 metric tons, that sounds like a lot, but what does that look like? Whoops, go back. I want to explain how much carbon that is. It's a lot. So basically, carbon sequestering means that trees take in carbon and they hold it within themselves, and then it stays there until they die, they decompose, or they get cut down or burned or whatever. So that is the same amount of carbon as the amount that is sequestered by 468 tree seedlings that are growing for 10 years. It's also the same amount of carbon that's sequestered by 33.8 acres of US forests in a single year. And it's also the same as removing 6.3 cars from the road for 1 year. So you can see that cars generate an awful lot. So again, more good news. If you're wondering, this is not in your packet. I found this picture today and I had to show it to you. This is what 1 ton of carbon dioxide looks like, which is really hard to visualize because it's the gas, But if you look at the people there, that's what 1 ton of carbon dioxide looks like. And we're saving 31.46 of those. So that's pretty substantial. So more good news. Morse Pond is kicking off composting when we come back from holiday break. So they're kicking off January 3rd. Falmouth High School, which is our largest school in the district, is kicking off on Earth Day. And then pending dishwasher installations, North Falmouth, East Falmouth, and T-Ticket should be somewhere in there. And also Lawrence will also be somewhere in there. But we're hoping by the end of 2024, all of our schools will be composting. We'll all be doing some great stuff. And yeah, that's about it. So, one more, I gotta give one more plug. I promised I would. So one of the people that I thanked was Alan Robinson. So Alan is the head of the Falmouth Solid Waste Committee. And he wanted me to tell you that he's absolutely thrilled with the school's food scrap recycling initiative, and that they view it as the cornerstone for a community-wide food recycling program. And so this is going to be like hopefully the start of everybody coming in and doing this. And then can you imagine how much more carbon we're gonna prevent from being emitted? So it's pretty cool project. So there you go. Things are good and getting better every day in Falmouth. So, do you have any questions?
Chris?
You might have addressed this, I think, the first time, but where again does the soil go? Is that used in the Falmouth High School garden or?
Currently, it is not. Right now, all of our food waste goes to Black Earth. So it goes to Black Earth composting. That is actually one of the things that I figured in when I did the calculations, because the landfill's 15 miles away. The composting site is 65 miles away. Not ideal. However, we're hoping that once the schools start doing this, the community will start composting. They'll move a composting site close to us, and then we won't have to ship it so far. So as of right now, Black Earth generates all the soil. They have an agreement with their residential customers that they get a certain amount of compost every year. We haven't quite negotiated that yet, but that's definitely something that we can consider. And I'm pretty sure that Ben has purchased compost from them in the past. So I figured that would probably be something we might do in the future, maybe get a discount since we're making so much of it. So, yeah.
There.
Silly question. I mean, the fact that we managed to not contaminate a single batch is not silly. It takes some
Amazing.
doing.
It
Can
does.
you see a picture of the sticker wall? Like,
Oh, I don't.
all the stickers that didn't go into the
Oh, that's-
compost
Yeah,
bin.
it's
I just want to see
full.
what that wall looks like.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you can put it up there. I'll go.
Yeah,
Oh, you know what, I'll just go bring the chart.
I was gonna say, you could just bring the chart. Yeah, it's funny because I was there the whole first week. That's what I did for the whole first week, was I stood there in front of the composting bin and was like, nope, nope, nope. And then sometimes it was like, oh, that's trash. And the kids were great, like literally within 3 days they had it. So am I surprised that they haven't contaminated it? Nope, not at all. The kids know what they're doing. And switching over to the stainless steel silverware is good, because if you have a piece of stainless steel silverware in your hand, you're not thinking like, oh, I gotta throw this out. Although I will admit I have thrown some silverware in my trash at home. But again, you're not thinking trash. And the kids are really, really great. Like they get it. They really do get it. And it's nice because one of the things that I used to worry about when I taught my kids about climate change is they used to say, okay, we're scared, what do we do? And I didn't, at the time when I was teaching it many years ago when I first started, I didn't really have a good answer. And so it's so nice to be able to be part of something that we can give them that answer. Like, we are doing something about it. We're actively doing something about it. I can show you how much good we're doing, which is pretty amazing. So it's good. I like I said, after the first week, I saw like a couple of stickers up there, a couple of kids going up. I think I came back a couple of weeks later and it was just covered. And so we're hoping to do something similar at Morris Pond and Falmouth High School. I suggested maybe at Falmouth High School we could put the administrators' pictures up there and they could cover them. But that didn't go over so well, so.
It would work though.
It would work. Might increase
Or
the
you want to
fruit
like give
intake.
somebody a stash, anything to get the kids involved. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be pretty impressive, because it was even a couple weeks after.
That's great.
I think
Any
so.
other questions while we wait for
If
the
I could
sticker?
just make a
Please,
comment?
Yes.
Sure.
I would really urge the administration to submit something about this program next year's Magna Awards for the National School Boards Association. Deadline is usually around in fall, November, and that we'd have so much more data and so many more schools involved, and we might have a great chance because innovative program like this would be really highlighted.
That was a good idea.
Great idea. All right, well, we will wait for Rose to come back with our sticker board. In the meantime, I did not mention this earlier, just the statement about public comment, about an audio or video. So any member of the public who wishes to make an audio or video recording of the open meeting must first notify me as required by open meeting law. I got you, Gilda. I just have to say it out loud. I know, it's crazy town. So Next up, we have overview of the superintendent's proposed FY25 budget.
Yes, and so tonight, we've had just a little bit more clarity on two items that we're going to talk about. One is the special education stabilization, which Paul is going to speak to. And then there is a fund, the Lawrence Fund, that the town unearthed in the many funds that they have. It's a trust fund that Mary's going to speak to. But before we do that, I think we should look at the, yes,
Let's
before we
check
do
out
that.
the stickers.
Oh my gosh.
Truthfully, I might have lost a few coming up.
That's great.
The cameras might focus this way with the
Yeah, that's definitely a lot more than the last time I looked.
A lot of bananas.
Lots of
A lot of bananas.
Kids are great with it, that's great.
I love it.
Apples,
Thank you.
A lot of apples.
Thank you,
Apples,
thank you.
Apples.
And thank you, Carmela. Presentation.
That's
Okay,
good.
yes, so that was perfect, and I'm
So
gonna,
the Lawrence,
there is a Lawrence Trust Fund that we're gonna speak to. But first, we'll start with the stabilization, give a little bit more detail, if you can, about this year and next year's budget.
First, just talking about this year, we've been, in the last few meetings, talking about needing to draw from the stabilization fund for fiscal year '24 because of increases in special education costs, out of district tuitions. So just to give you a little quantification around that, special education costs for this year will increase around $381,000. The circuit breaker costs, the refund that we get from the state for out of district tuitions actually is based on the prior year's numbers. So that actually decreased this year from what it was the year before. So that was a net decline of $358,000. And plus, we had new hires for special education in our pre-kindergarten classes of 273,000. So in total, we had a roughly $1,013,000 increase in special education costs. Of that amount, 475,000 is the number that we were using to draw from the Special Education Stabilization Fund for fiscal year '24. In talking with the town, they'd also like us to do the similar amount, roughly 300,000 for fiscal year '25 to help some of the costs for fiscal year '25. So that we're putting that in our budget calculations for our numbers for fiscal year '25. So any questions on that?
yes, Sue.
The balance of the stabilization fund,
It's just over $1 million, $1,062,000.
thank you.
So after the 2 years, we'll have about just under 300,000 in the fund.
Thank you.
All right, so now let's learn about the Lawrence Trust Fund.
So I want to make sure I get my dates right after doing a little research, but as Lori said, the town has this account that has not been used in many, many years. But in 1834, where the current Chamber of Commerce building is, 20 Academy Lane, that was originally a private secondary school called Falmouth Academy that the townspeople voted to open because prior to that, all students had to board in other towns in order to go to high school or get an education beyond grammar school in Falmouth. So they opened up Falmouth Academy, I believe it was 1834, and then there was a wealthy mill owner in town called Shubael Lawrence. I'm not certain how to pronounce the first name, and my understanding is he operated a mill where the old Riverbend property was
On Sandwich Road.
on the Coonamessett River. He died in 1841, and he had a very wealthy son, Junior, Shubael Lawrence Jr., who was 44 years old. He was a bachelor. He was known as a local philanthropist. And he ended up actually dying very shortly, just a few months after his father died. But in his will, he bequeathed $10,000 to Falmouth Academy on the condition that it be renamed Lawrence Academy and that the money be intended for the principal's salary. So in 1890, then the town bought the school, and that's when it became a public high school. And then I forget what year it went to, I don't think I wrote down, and then it became Lawrence High School. Yeah, that was it in 1890, and I don't know what year it moved to a different building, but it just moved to a different building. It was Lawrence High School. So this money has been building up interest over many, many years and is available to the school district.
There's over $1 million in that account that we have not accessed.
Do you have any others you can find?
Right?
Sorry, I didn't
I
mean to
feel
yell out.
like it's Monopoly. Your uncle has left you a community chest or something. Wow.
Yeah, and imagine $10,000 back at that time, how much, that was a significant amount of money.
It's very generous. Thank you, Lawrence family.
Yes.
I'm just curious, if in your research, if you happen to know, would this be the same Lawrence family that donated the high school land?
I'm not sure. It could be. I didn't see that in my research.
Yeah, that would have been
It wouldn't surprise me. It sounded
1950s,
like they were
1952.
a settled family here.
Yep. And from, if I recall, from the Chamber of Commerce building, to the left of the present library is where the Lawrence High School was built,
Oh, okay.
on the lawn there.
Oh, interesting.
Mike.
Is there any stipulations to what the money can be used for?
Well,
Yes.
there's an old document from, it looks like an assistant town clerk in Falmouth to the former Superintendent Dillingham. was
Dillingham.
it?
In 1923.
In 1923, saying, yes, this money is available for use, but you can't spend it across all different school budgets. It's intended for the salary of the secondary school principal. So apparently they were, at that time, kind of taking money out of the fund for different purposes, but it's intended for, it seems like it's intended for
One
the
salary,
secondary school.
That's sole
one
purpose.
each year.
Yes.
Looks like Mr. Bushy's gonna have a nice holiday season.
Well, or
What's the high school?
the high school.
Well,
Yeah.
it could be interpreted as the Lawrence School, but it was considered a secondary
Secondary
school
school.
salary, so.
Sure.
So Ellen gets a raise?
Looks like they both did.
No, so the town has started, they actually gave us a number of funds and they've asked us to start going through all the trust funds and to make sure that we're using them. So we will start accessing as part of our budget this money. We also, there were another trust fund that we were unaware of, that there was about $30,000 that was intended for high school students training support around substance abuse. So we will, so the high school is pretty excited about that. They're going to start looking into that program. And then all the other funds are funds that we've been using, and it's all for scholarship. But now we understand all the trust funds that are set up for the schools. So
That's great.
It was
Very
great.
I just missed in the initial discussion, who discovered this $1 million?
The town brought it to our attention that this fund has been sitting.
Just interesting.
Why did,
We
why
never
did,
heard of
why
any
did
of
it take so long
Get
to
140
get?
years.
I
mean,
can't,
for
I
us-
can't answer that. It's the first
Yeah,
that's been brought to my
prior
attention.
superintendents were
Not aware of, they have not accessed it.
Oh, yay. Yay.
Yeah, I know.
Question so $1 million, it's essentially an endowment for at least the principal's salary, but what we would be drawing for that salary be what, 10-ish%, right, of the total, which is, I think, more than would be the typical recommended. So is that the plan, is to take the full salary out of that, or to take like a 4.5% or a certain amount to supplement the salary, or not to that stage yet in terms of figuring it out?
Well, no, the rule, the condition on it was supposed to be spent on that one salary each year. And that's yes, the intention of what we're gonna do,
I was wondering to cover the full amount of the salary or?
the full amount of the salary.
Wow. I don't even know what to say. That's
So
great.
basically, we'd have about 10 years worth, whereas I think what you're, if I'm reading correctly, that taking some out and not all of the salary, we might actually be able to continue to accrue enough interest to keep it going longer than 10 years.
Right.
So
Has there been any thought to that?
There has. The intention from the town is that the funds that are sitting there need to be used fully.
Oh.
Yes.
can I piggyback on your 2 points? Because right now, like a 5% CD, $50,000 a year supplemental, that money could just roll over for a long time.
Right.
Is what you're getting at, I'm assuming. To supplement or whatever it might be, but you have to use it all.
Seems like a fiscal mistake to spend the whole money.
I would love to hear from, like, when do they want us to, I feel like this is a lot without any of our input as far as like, can we roll it over? Can we, just draw a portion of it so that it can keep feeding itself? But am I hearing you correctly that the town wants us to use this up right now?
Want to speak to it?
Yeah, I think with the budget pressures for next year, especially that we should be counting on using that amount for the full, to cover the full salary. Just because of the overall tightness within the budget. I think working down the balance a little bit and then maybe coming to an agreement on the remaining balance going forward, it would be workable. But right now, I think, we're looking at taking the full salary amount of.
I wonder if is it because the town just kind of wants it like off their ledger kind of thing? And if that's the case, can the district take it and then, do what we wish with it? Not with its unintended use, you know what I mean? Like, if the town just doesn't want responsibility for the trust anymore, of which I understand if that's their intent, can the district take it over and then can we continue to keep it going and just pull a portion of it?
I think in the long term, that may be possible, but just for the allocation of fiscal year 25, the budget would be to take that number into consideration. That's kind of built into their number, but there is, the fund won't be closed in fiscal year 25. It'll be ongoing. We can talk with the town thereafter. The effort isn't to draw it down to zero.
Right.
It's just for the next year to use the full allocation of the salary.
So the exercise that they asked us to go through with the funds was, and the town's doing it as well, so they've asked every department to do this, is to look at every fund in order to bring down our budget as much as possible in what we're asking for next year. So it's critical for the FY 25.
Yeah.
And I think what Paul is saying, after that, maybe we can see where we are. But for the FY 25 budget and the needs, and the pressures that you mentioned, they're expecting us to do our part in helping with the budget.
Okay. Mike.
Just for clarification, and if I could, this is a net zero. This $1 million ends up being net zero for the school budget, because whatever money we draw from that fund,
We take it out.
we take it out of the budget. So we didn't actually, the schools don't have $1 million+ dollars. It's just taken out of the budget from the town.
That's right. This is,
Okay.
this is segregated funds for the town. It's a trust fund. So essentially, drawing down that salary would allow us to reduce our budget request to the town by that amount. And that's kind of the benefit for next year.
Heather.
Also clarification, so this is currently sitting like in a bank account just accruing interest, or it's invested? What's the?
No, it's segregated from the free cash of the town. It's not part of that calculation, but I can't tell you where the money is actually, how it's invested.
So,
As a longtime school committee member, I'd be very curious to hear the history of how this was invested and not having heard of this before this evening.
yeah, I'd love so much more information on this.
It's a curiosity thing on my
Same.
side right now.
I'm not sure if we can find much more, but we can certainly keep asking the town. I think we've exhausted what we can on the history of the fund.
I understand. I just
Knowing
think the
where the
town
money's
could help
sitting, what
us
it's drawing, that we can
understand.
probably, look into.
And there are, just the point raised earlier, I think by Terry, there are a number of accounts by the town, just a very large number of accounts that are set up by individuals for very specific purposes. So it's easy to, not be aware of it. It doesn't show up on our account. So
Next, we should look at findmassmoney.com or whatever. Right?
All right. Well, thank you all. That was an interesting history lesson, and it has done nothing but pique my interest. So thank you very much. Next is to act on the school committee goals. Last week, most of us met to talk about the school committee goals for the year. And we put a draft, and we sent a draft out and didn't receive, did we receive any edits back?
I did, I got a couple
thank
edits. So you'll see they're in red on the handout. Those were the few edits that came from feedback from members.
So a couple of edits. I hope everyone has had a chance to take a peek at this. Terry?
I put the Clipper time in because Lori had on her goal 6 meetings during Clipper time.
Sure.
That's where that came from, that I didn't know we had the night we met. So that's what that's about.
Thank you.
Oh. Yes, but the Clipper time with the students?
Yes, you have 6 meetings on your.
I do.
Yes,
but it was the coffee hours that the school committee was going to attend,
But
not the meetings with the students.
They're invited to. She wanted to add the opportunity to visit during Clipper time when you're meeting with students.
Can we discuss that?
We can take a vote and then we can open discussion. Is there a motion to accept the school committee goals for 23-24? Thank you, Kelly. Is there a second? Sue, great, thanks. Any discussion? Okay.
So Lori,
Who wants to open discussion on that?
I'm just curious about, because the Clipper time was the one piece, the other red is just a clarification, but the Clipper time was an addition that Lori didn't get a chance to comment on, like, because she was at our meeting. So I'm curious her take on that piece before we approve it.
Well, the opportunities for students to come and share about anything in general, but mostly just about their experiences as Clipper and opportunities of giving suggestions and type. It was never, I guess, it was never discussed that there would be additional people observing. Actually, none of my team actually goes. These are like sessions that I'm actually meeting with students. So, if that's something you want to do, I feel like that I need to advertise it differently than I'm doing now.
When is the first one due to happen?
We've already had 3.
Okay, when's the next one?
So, but you don't have to advertise differently the coffee hours though, if we're going?
Because they've been open in a, no, because it's an open meeting, like anyone can come for the coffee hours.
But Clipper time is closed
was,
time?
was, you know, advertised, it was an opportunity for students to speak.
Okay, well then,
Oh.
You see what I'm saying? Like, that's how it's
Yeah, I see.
advertised, and that's what they're signing up, so I
I
just,
see.
if we're gonna open it, I just
Yeah.
need to change that.
no, I don't want to.
Or I may keep the ones that I have with the students, but then add maybe some more that, if more people.
I
can-
remember you had asked us to go to
Margaret, I see, just a
meetings, so I thought this one was omitted, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, maybe we should.
So we can take that out.
So you want to remove that, Terry?
I'm happy to set up some different ones during Clipper time, and if you would like to attend some with students.
But just not these particular
Particular
ones,
ones, yeah.
that I see what you're saying, that you
Yes.
had advertised them as sort of like a
Yeah.
closed door.
Yeah.
Okay, Margaret,
No, I just recalled when you talked about meetings in the very beginning, you mentioned which meetings were invited to and which ones we were not, and that was just not included.
Oh, see, and the Clipper and the student thing is what caught me that too, but no, if that's not advertised like that,
okay,
nope.
so we'll remove that portion.
Well,
Otherwise, go ahead.
Well, I think the question was, do members of the committee want to attend those meetings with students, or do they not? That's the issue.
Was there a question on that, or were you just clarifying?
No, I just remember Lori saying that she wanted us to go to these meetings, and I looked at all the things on your action plans, and I said, oh, what should we put in the Clipper ones too, but.
So we had talked about the conversations, and that's with the staff, and then the coffee hours with the parents. And like I said, I am more than happy to set up a couple with Clipper time with the students that we could advertise differently. I'll just keep my 6 that I had with the students. So that's up to you. So if you want to leave, let's just call it something, you know, I mean, or whatever. Let's adjust the language, and I can certainly open something up.
Part of that was with the student advisory, we want to review, because we don't have enough at our meetings, so that's the thing maybe we could do for a conversation, is to tell them what we do and why we would like them to be at our meetings and things like that, instead of a Clipper time thing.
That's perfect.
That was,
Okay.
Well,
correction, wasn't that part of our discussion last week, that that's what we were gonna do?
Yeah,
Yes,
we did have a
yeah.
discussion about it last week.
Yeah.
Bill?
I do think, you know, when working with teams, I kind of know how they operate. I do think if committee members had opportunities to be with students and get a chance to hear like candid comments, it would be helpful. I think, you know, having a student here for Clipper time is great, but it's also a lot of pressure, and, you know, it's televised and everybody can watch, whereas I think a meeting at the school in their comfort zone and giving them a chance to stop in and ask a question or make a comment, I think is very helpful if we could have those opportunities to get that feedback versus having someone give a report with everybody else watching. I think that would be helpful. I'm not sure, I guess how it's advertised, I guess, may make a difference, but I'm not really sure how it would change the dynamic. I think it's whether they're meeting with the superintendent or whether they're meeting the superintendent and a school committee member or two. I think the effect is still the same. They're getting a chance to say what's good or what's not good about the school district, and I'm not really sure that would change the dynamic a whole lot.
Just to Bill's point, when we were at North Falmouth and the kids came in with those cool little robot things, there was one student who was showing myself and Bill his robot. He acted totally different than when he sees me at the school doing like blocks or at the craft fair last night. So I think that is, you know, if you had to have extra, you know, advertise extra ones with, you know, just because then you're gonna get more natural students or the dynamic thing. So that's my 2 cents.
Great. Any other discussion? All right. We don't have to have a roll call. It never happens. So
Can you clarify, are we adding that or not adding?
we are not
Am I
adding,
adding some sessions for the school committee meeting?
well, I didn't, read it as that, because in the bullet, review the student advisory program for our discussion last week, that was kind of built into that, that was the intention of that bullet. So I don't think we need to add anything. Does anybody else have a different opinion on that?
I think if it's gonna be taken out, I think you would just need an amended motion.
Correct.
So we're just
gonna
striking.
remove the red on the bullet with periodically attend superintendent coffee hours for parents.
Okay, so I'll make that motion again as amended.
Thank you.
Seconded.
Thank you. Chris?
So just so I'm clear, were we thinking it was a good idea to, as Lori was saying, to have a couple sessions that are separate from the student advisory program, like our discussion with them on that, having just a couple sessions where when students meet with Lori, that a couple or whoever school committee members are present just to kind of hear what they have to talk? Is that was kind of the impression I was getting from Mike and Bill.
Yes.
And
but
something I'd be interested in too.
If I could, I think that what Dr. Dorr said, that that's not clipper time.
Right.
So we're striking the clipper time for something else that's not on the sheet, just for this vote.
Right.
Yeah, that's my understanding, is the only thing we really are taking out is the part that says clipper time.
Yes.
Not the and meetings with students.
So we're just, okay, my mistake. So I thought we were removing all of the red. We're just removing clipper time. So that bullet will now read periodically attend the superintendent coffee hours for parents and meetings with students. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Kelly, so that's our clarification amendment. You still are standing by your motion with your as amended?
That's fine.
Sue, are you still standing by your second? As amended? Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Great, that passes. And I love that we can all vote together as a group. It makes me feel good. Thank you. Moving right on to first read on new policy IMH, therapy dogs.
So this came out of the policy subcommittee. It arose out of requests that the school district has received, increasing over time, to have therapy dogs visit the schools. There is solid research that shows that therapy dogs do enhance the social, emotional, academic benefits for students. And we just didn't have a policy in place that specified what we wanted when we were allowing therapy dogs in the schools. We do have another policy, IMG, that is animals in schools, but that policy covers animals that are prohibited. And it covers service animals, which service animals, as this policy states, are very distinct. Those are covered by the Americans with Disabilities Act. They are specifically an individual's animal that they need due to a disability. Therapy dogs are certified under a different program. They are not service animals. And we do have many organizations and even students. A few years ago, when I was still principal at the high school, we had a student do a senior project on the benefits of therapy dogs, and her presentation with the dogs was phenomenally popular and very well received. So it's self-explanatory. We want insurance. We want to know that the handlers are certified, that the dogs are certified, and all that information would be provided to the superintendent before a therapy dog is approved.
I'm sure that my apologies for being under the weather and not attending the policy meeting. I'm going to assume that the certification of the therapy dog will come from a reputable certifying, as opposed to, I know that you can just get them online, and even with a little vest for your dog to get.
Not for a therapy dog.
Okay. Okay.
Not legitimately.
Right, so.
Excuse me,
So
I
they're
didn't
out
mean to
there.
interrupt.
That's the point.
They're definitely out there. So I just want to make sure that obviously it's a legitimate certification. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Mike.
Can I ask a question? do all three of these have to be met do all three bullet points have to be met?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to confirm, okay.
So that being said, do we need the word after the first bullet point? Do we need to add the word "and" like it is after the second bullet point?
No, legally, it's, the way they're listed, that means all three are required. It would not be, it would say "or" if there were any opportunities to eliminate one or more of the bullets.
Any other discussion, questions? Sue?
I have a question in regards to must be leashed at all times. My daughter is a school counselor in New Hampshire, has had as her working partner her two black labs for the past 10 years in a middle school. Once these dogs are certified as therapy dogs through a proper program, that is part of their training. And from what I've observed when I've been up there visiting, her dogs are not leashed. And they do a phenomenal job with the care. They know it's their job in regards to, helping an upset child, or they refer to it as fur time with Ellie and B. And these dogs go from classroom to classroom. And it is a phenomenal benefit in the social emotional portion of the school. So I'm just questioning the leash law.
Was that part of discussion? Or was
No, it's just this policy, I reviewed numerous policies from other school districts in Massachusetts, and that seemed to be something. It does say, but I understand what you're saying, Susan. It says must be leashed at all times, and the handler must be holding the leash unless that would interfere with the therapy dog's safe and effective performance of its work and tasks. So I think that we can discuss that again in our next policy subcommittee meeting.
Okay. Any other questions, discussion? Share the district. Okay. Great. So we will bring this back after policy when we meet the next time with any additional edits. Please feel free to email the policy committee if you have any questions, concerns, or updates. Great. Moving on to the superintendent update. Dr. Durr.
Thank you. So you have two memos in your folder. One is an update on the tiered focus monitoring that is on the English English learner education, as stated by Bessie's language, and the ESSA entitlement grant monitoring review. And it's Dr. Tellier prepared the memo. This portion of the tiered focus monitoring comes under Sonia's office. So just an update. We have an update last meeting from the Dr. Woodward on her office. And so this is an update where we are with that. And so if you have any questions about that, you can, ask this time or anytime in the future. And then the second memo is from Dr. Harris. And this is on the 8th grade academic night at Falmouth High School. And he also added some information about the open house that was in October. So one was focused on activities and clubs and sports in October. And then last Tuesday was focused on the academic side, all for 8th grade students and their families. And then it also mentions that upcoming in January, the students will have that's the next portion of the series this year. The students will visit the high school.
I have a question about that. How are the 8th grade students in Falmouth, how are they and their families getting notified about these events?
I believe through email,
Through
through the high
email,
school.
through the weekly letter from Tom Bushy, from a email letter from Dr. Harris, from the district.
So if a student is in 8th grade in Falmouth but doesn't currently go to Lawrence, how would they know about it?
That's a good question.
I just think with the
I believe,
focus
wasn't it
on,
also in the newspaper? I feel like I saw it in the Enterprise.
yeah, I feel like with the focus on, trying to keep as many of our students in Falmouth Public Schools, advertising the phenomenal high school that we have, we need to make sure that all families are getting that information, because to the best of my understanding right now, they are not.
What's your suggestion?
Sorry to interrupt. It was also the commercial that we ran on television for that as well, specifically.
On the public access?
No.
It was on Real TV.
Whoa, public access is real TV. Whoa.
All right.
On public access and other terrestrial television.
I saw the ad when I was watching a
Mainstream.
football game.
Oh,
No, I was watching a football game and I saw an ad for Falmouth High School.
Bill, did you have a
Thank you, Ryan.
suggestion on
Well,
how to?
I think that it would be great if we could look back at, the student records and make sure that any 8th grader that isn't currently going to Lawrence and Falmouth would also get those letters in the
Oh.
mail or emails or
You know what else?
phone call or something.
It
along
also
those
went out
lines.
as a mailer. There was a mailer that went out in the fall, like a little a card, and it had all the dates of all the things
Okay.
of each. So my child is an 8th grader, so I feel like this is very much in my wheelhouse.
Right.
That
attends Falmouth Public Schools. That's my point. I guess
Yeah.
if they
So
don't currently
is
attend
your
Falmouth
child- so
Public Schools, were they?
So I'm just gonna
Did
use
they
it
receive
as
that
an
information?
example, like I'm using myself as an example.
Right.
Are
No, we did
you,
not.
you did not, okay, so, great, that's something that we can focus on.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, the only way we knew about the fair they had in October was because I was at the meeting, the school committee meeting, mentioned it there. So it'd be great if we can make sure that all families are.
Sure.
notified.
We might even,
Sonia, did you have something?
Yeah, I know historically we'd reached out to the enterprise, so anytime we would host an event at the high school, we used to send it out, and then also kind of tailor some of the social media. as
Yeah,
well.
actually, we did a target ad campaign to be able to.
But it is something for us to go back and think about too, because I'm thinking about like the address database, right? But
Right,
I know, I do know that we did have other ways that we were sharing information.
Kelly, did you have something?
totally different topic though.
Okay. What do you
Okay.
got?
So it's a question about, Sonia, it's on the second page of
The
the,
previous ELA.
the memo that you got. So on the second paragraph, it says, it's listing out the different things that the review considers. And it says equitable services to private schools. And I didn't get what that would be.
So we are required to hold a reservation in all of our titles to share with private schools. So for Title I, we have to look at any private school that a student who resides in Falmouth may be attending, can be outside of Falmouth. And then for Titles 2, 3, and 4, we look at private schools in Falmouth. So we look at Falmouth Academy. We have to send certified mailers every year. Falmouth Academy at one point did use some Title II funds for professional development, but Title I funds are declined every year. But it's a federal requirement for us to receive the money because those are students that otherwise would have been attending our schools to provide services. But yeah, and even Falmouth Academy, we do the offer of consultation every year, and this is the third year they've declined even the professional development funding.
So interesting. All right, thanks.
Thank you for
Thought I asked.
clarifying that.
Yeah.
Me too, thanks.
Well, it's similar to the special education, we're required to provide services, special education services to private school students as well who are Falmouth residents.
Thank you, Mary. Anything, Dr. Durr? Thank you, Mary. Period. Next paragraph.
Just two little
Dr.
things.
Durr, anything else?
Just a reminder, tomorrow night is Morse Plans band and choir concert at 6:30 at Lawrence School. And in January 11th, LPAC is holding their next.
Stole my thunder.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll let you finish. I'll let you finish.
No, please do, please do,
Huh?
please.
No, I'm just excited that, we're having another event. The LPAC is the English Language Parent Advisory Committee, and they are creating a great night for learning more about schools and opportunities for our students, for our multilingual families. It's at 5:30 at Morse Pond School. And I believe there's going to be a hot chocolate bar there, so come one and all.
Sounds amazing. Okay, routine business. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from November 28th, 2023?
Make a motion to approve the minutes that were
Thank
passed
you.
out at our seat.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Sue. Any discussion? Or should we just take a moment and review this since we just got that?
If you're looking, I think the only edit was that Sue was here.
I think it looks good. Once again, thank you for running that meeting, Kelly. Okay. All those in favor of approving the minutes from November 28th, 2023? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? All right. Is there a motion to approve the minutes for December 5th, 2023? Ellie? I'm
Oh,
giving
I
it
make
to
that
you.
motion.
Yeah. Sue?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right. Sorry. Everyone in agreement? Why am I like spacing on terminology? All those in favor? Oh, Melissa. All those in favor of approving the minutes from December 5th, 2023?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? Okay, thank you. Committee member reports. Terry,
The VIPS Student of the Month for December is Mia Cooper.
that's wonderful. Congratulations, Mia Cooper. I'm sure her parents are thrilled. Any other committee member reports? Heather?
The DEIB advisory met again yesterday, and robust discussion around the rollout of the equity audit, the family and student and staff surveys in various stages ongoing at this point, as well as what some of that, the follow-up and analysis of those surveys will be. And Henry, Margaret, jump in. Chris, that's right, you were also there on Zoom, right? If I'm missing key things, but I think one clear point of discussion was just around in the analysis and follow-up, ensuring that results from the audit go to the equity teams and the staff at each individual school, for them to see that, digest it, perhaps begin proposing responses to those results before that comes to school committee, so that staff response can be part of what we hear when we get those results.
That's great.
And I did talk to them this afternoon, and they're like, oh yeah, it's definitely, that is the process they're gonna do. So they want the teachers to be notified before make public here. And so it's not like surprise that's gonna be happening. So it's very intentional. So I really appreciate the conversation that we had of just getting a snapshot, saying where we're at and where we need to go. So that was a really nice conversation we all had. So I appreciate that.
I think the other thing that just worth highlighting. I know, Henry, you put a lot of thought into ensuring that we had the highest participation rates possible, but while also respecting the fact that some parents may not want their students to take this, so providing the opt-out option, but so far the opt-out rate has been extremely low. What did you say, something like what?
61 as of today.
Across the entire district.
Out of how many that have taken it?
I mean, that's total. I mean, that's how many people have said this is what we want. So
I
out
see.
of all our students,
Yeah.
not counting first, kindergarten, and third, 61.
And the surveys have gone out to all the grades at this point?
No, it's a rollout, so we have Lawrence, and tomorrow is East, and Friday is high school. And next week is ours.
Great.
And
Great.
parents are now, so if you're a parent.
Well, I got mine.
if you're
All right. Go ahead.
Not DAB advisory, but also just, since you mentioned the Morse Pond concert, there's a bunch of them coming up, high schools on Thursday for instrumental. Can't remember when choral is for the high school.
The following Thursday.
I've lost track of when Lawrence is.
I announced them all last meeting, and I just wanted to remind for tomorrow night, but you're right, so this Thursday is instrumental, and the following Thursday at high school. The elementary joint choir is next Monday. And Lawrence is next Wednesday, that's right, I was like, there's 3 next week and next Wednesday, yeah. So it's a team effort, thank you.
Great. Any other committee member reports? I was gonna mention that we had our goals meeting, but it's already been discussed ad nauseam. Any other committee member reports? No.
I just have one comment.
Sure.
I read with interest the article that Sarah Murphy wrote.
Yes.
And I also have heard from many parents of 6th graders as to the great program that was held. So all great PR work.
I just want to give a shout out to Miss Murphy. I think she's doing a great job, and I'm very grateful that she's with us. So thank you, Sarah Murphy. Any requests for information? Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'm on a roll.
Oh, Kelly.
Second.
Excellent. All in favor? Aye. Any abstention? Great, thanks. Have a great night.
Made it easy for Sharon. I think we had them all.